Surrender. You must have noticed that people have huge egos. I'm one of them, and I'm slowly hacking away its ever growing branches. I noticed that the less I let my ego rule me, the faster I progress. I have come to recognize it as surrender. The ego is an automated defense mechanism which has evolved for only one purpose, that is, survive and procreate. It is very useful, brutal, and is like an autopilot. You don't need to think much, it does it for you. Now, the problem is, it has very limited wisdom. It's like an AI, a machine, and it decides on its own what it needs to defend. So it defends the body, of course, that's wise, and it defends your food, your shelter, your hoard of shiny stuff. That's why you don't like it when someone touches you or stares at your food or enters into your house or steals your belongings. You want to obliterate the intruder, and that's ego in action. So far, so good. But the trouble starts when it encroaches into your mind stuff and calls it its own part. So things you know, things you say, and things you believe all become something that must be defended from anyone or anything that dares to oppose or destroy them. So the things you know for sure must remain so. Ego will stand between them and any new knowledge that might try to replace it. Like it says, oh, I know everything now. It says that the things you already know must not be changed. No one should dare to call them stupid. They are just perfect. The total truth. And same for your actions. Like, I cannot be wrong. I'm fair, and just like that. The ego will hang on to the last straw to prove and thus save your words and deed. Usually, any attack on your beloved beliefs sends ego into a fit, especially if their destruction is going to prove that you are an idiot to have believed that. What I believe is truth and nothing but truth. If you don't agree, you are the enemy, you are inferior, I deserve more food and females, not you. So that kind of thinking will come in between. Beliefs are just baseless assumptions, not founded on direct experience or logical inference. Their destruction become ego's destruction. Ego sees it as a lowering of its social status, thus giving it a disadvantage in regards to survival and procreation. Its competitors gain advantage if they are proven correct and wiser. Ego doesn't like that. So you will see that those who are authority figure, hold top positions or high in command, etc., defend their beliefs most violently. They even manipulate others to believe in the same nonsense they believe. They make followers to gain more power, to silence their competitors and prevent them from gaining a survival advantage. These are our familiar ego games. Ordinary people will be ordinary, can't do much, and it's business as usual. It's life, but such tendencies of the ego become a hurdle for a seeker. His ego stops his progress. He doesn't want to learn, resists removing his old conditioning and beliefs. So as a solution, it is often recommended to surrender the ego. By surrender, I mean recognize clearly that you are acting and thinking under the influence of egoic tendencies and intervene to stop them. To not to act as an ego is surrender. Now the question is, whom to surrender it? Of course, to the knowledge, the teachings. Since a teacher is the source of knowledge, surrendering of ego starts there. If you do not respect a teacher or do not surrender your ego to him, that teacher is not for you. His teachings will have very little effect, if any at all. As a result, you won't progress fast enough. It should be obvious why that would happen. When there is no respect, there is no surrender. The person tends to either ignore, ridicule, or argue instead of listening to and experimenting on the teachings. Knowledge comes from experiences, and experiences comes from our attempt to convert the teaching into experiences via experiments, like putting them into practice. So it all starts from simply listening to the teachers openly. This is the first step. If you let ego stand between you and the teacher, you effectively remain where you are. The next question is, how to surrender? It's simple. Do not offer any resistance to the knowledge. Keep a very open mind, curious, inquisitive, critical, and questioning attitude. Be very aware that the incoming teachings, whether truth or BS, are not a survival threat. You are safe and sound. They are just words. Never believe the words. Get the experience. Because once you believe, the ego will start defending them also. Knowledge has nothing to do with assumptions. You don't even need to remember it. It's obvious and self-evident. So, whenever you find your ego getting fired up for a fight on the matter of what is truth or correct or right, just become aware and alert. You do not have to act or to accept or believe. Just surrender that behavior and listen carefully to what is being told. Note that the surrender does not mean that you surrender your mind to and become a mindless idiot. Surrender only the stupid part of the mind, the ego. The higher parts must function properly to evaluate and experience new knowledge. In the absence of egoic mess, the mind functions more clearly, quickly, and effectively. The body remains calm and quiet. You can sit with a teacher for a long time, and so the result is rapid progress. Next question is, how to surrender to a teacher? It's easy to surrender to a dead teacher who lived 100 years ago. It's difficult to surrender to a living one, especially if he is right in front of you. Usually, a good teacher will simply beat the crap out of your ego, and he will do it every day without pause. The ego defenses go up very high. It's red alert. It's the job of the teacher to destroy your ignorance, and it's the job of the ego to maintain the status quo. It totally depends on the skill of the teacher to make his student comfortable. He may treat you like a friend and offer just suggestions, not commands. Such teachers are popular for obvious reasons. They are less threatening to any ego. Some teachers will make you obey, will beat you up, insult you, and treat you like a slave. They are effective and fast, and ego shatters completely. But obviously they are not popular. If you are a hardcore seeker, choose the latter. Next question. What if a teacher is a fake teacher? It's dangerous to surrender totally to a teacher for practical reasons. Many are fake. Especially the female seeker needs to be very careful because of the rampant abuse they suffer. Most will only lose money and time, but some may get stuck in cult. Not surrendering your mind comes handy here. Listen carefully to what ego says. Observe whether the teacher is demanding a bit too much in exchange of a few words. Are the demands physical in nature? Is he using you not for service but for his personal work? All those questions should be asked. Leave immediately when in doubt. Again, a hardcore seeker will take enough risk to find out if it's worth staying there. Often the ego will make a mountain out of a molehill and will try to convince you that your teacher is pure evil. It does that by invoking extreme fear. If that happens, calmly confront the situation. Find out if the behavior of the teacher is clearly a sign of danger. Decide logically using solid evidence, not under the fear or emotion or impulses. In some cases, other fearful or idiotic people spread fear about a particular book, teacher, tradition, or method, and some seeker stare past those valuable teachings mindlessly, believing the propaganda. Again, use evidence and logic. What if is there no evidence and nothing seems logical? When in doubt, choose survival, not knowledge or adventure. No tricks here, just plain common sense. The best surrender is surrender to the self. You, the consciousness. Self is the ultimate guide. All knowledge resides there. Try cleaning up the fog of ego that surrounds the self. And it has to be a 24/7 affair, not a 20 minutes a day ritual. When you surrender to the self, you will find that you do not need to surrender to external things or people. The ego can be ego, others can be others. Be careful here, because the ego will often pretend to be the self. Take up this practice only when you have tasted the self for a while, at least a few years of practice. Thank you.